I'm gonna show you guys this. It's a, it's a kind of a disturbing, not even kind of, it's just a disturbing video. As you can see, there's this young, overweight child here. He's in the middle of a pack of playground goers. Uh, Dylan Danis. We'll talk about what he says in a second. Let's just watch this.
You wanna come up behind me and kick me in the back?
No, so he got you back. Oh no, what's
You see, so this has played out thousands, if not millions of times, probably over the past like 2 to 3 years, let alone like ever. This is something we see all the time. Dylan Danis says, "Someone find me this young man's details, and I will pay for a lifetime membership at any martial art gym in his area." Okay, so now we are brought back to what Dylan Danis did. Oh, excuse me. Already got young Jason set up to start jujitsu in his area. He and his mom were adamant about moving, so she's been saving for a while, and they started a give, send, go. Any amount helps. Now, Dylan Danis is being a really nice guy here, right? I know Dylan is kind of known as like a villain and things like that. But he's doing something very nice here, regardless of why or how. So I don't want to sit here and be like Dylan's fucking idiot. He doesn't know. But let me ask you, how would Brazilian Jiu Jitsu have benefited this child in this situation? Tell me when the Jiu Jitsu training was supposed to help him out. Was it there? Was the Jiu Jitsu supposed to help him there or here? He can't even get close enough to score a takedown, or maybe here, maybe here. Maybe he should have pulled guard. Maybe that's what should have happened. Maybe he should have pulled guard. Like I said, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, Dylan Danis is doing something stupid, but it's just a fact of the matter that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would not have helped this kid here. I'm not saying that he shouldn't do Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a four-stripe brown belt myself. I'm probably pretty close to getting my black belt, and that's not just me like talking. It's like four-stripe brown belt. I've been doing it for a long time. I know jujitsu can be and is very useful, but jujitsu in this case would not have helped him. What would have helped him is what I have right here in my tweet, which is it's not just martial arts that's needed, it's a proper understanding of threat avoidance and a dismantling of the violence is never the answer programming. Public school and helicopter mommies are just as guilty as the pack of playground goers. And then I said, this kid was taught there's a right answer in this situation and it can be talked out. In many situations, all you can do is distance yourself and be ready to swing when they get too close. Again, mommy and public school are to blame for this. The issue with this kid is that he was raised by a mom and a dad, I would assume. I saw his dad later, who their whole thing was just try and talk it out. Just try and get a teacher, find an adult. Why don't you try and be their friends? Why don't you just be nice to them? Maybe offer to like hang out with them or something like that. They would literally rather see their sons have that kind of thing happen to them. So that they can have this weird like moral high ground of, well, my son doesn't hit people. My son doesn't hit. I taught my son right. He doesn't hit. Helicopter moms are the types of people who absolutely positively ruin both male and female children, and it's because a lot of moms aren't raising kids to be like happy and healthy like adults or members of civilization or anything like that. They're raising kids as a means to kind of treat them like how Paris Hilton had that dog that she would carry around in her purse. That's all children are to a lot of these parents, specifically these moms, is like just it's just a way for them to earn fucking brownie points with other people. And then on top of that, you also have school systems where they don't actually give a fuck. Their job is to not to raise children. Their job is not to instill self-respect and dignity in children. In fact, children who have self-respect and dignity, they're actually harder to deal with because they expect you to not treat them like shit. So they try their best in the school system to instill a sense of unimportance and undignified nature in these children, so that when some fuckhead teacher is like, go to the office, the kid won't be like, no, what are you talking about? You're being an idiot. So you have these school systems and you have these mothers who they raise their children to put themselves in these situations where this kid is surrounded by people who only want to see him get hurt, when he should have never done that in the first place. He should have avoided these people, and if they got close enough to swing on, then fucking swing on them. But other than that, there's nothing to talk about. There is no discussion to be had. There's no, hey, why don't you do this and I'll do that. There's no, hey, you want to be pals. No, that ship sailed, because these people, they have already decided you are a punk, that they can do that kind of thing too. So you should be avoiding their behavior in the first place, and if they get too close to avoid, then you got to do something about it. And I'm not telling anyone necessarily to like start swinging on people. I'm just saying that if the situation is right as to where it warrants it, in whatever state you happen to be in, then yeah, you have to defend yourself. That's pretty much what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, actually. But what this kid needed was an understanding of how threats work and how people like this actually function, so that he would have never approached them in the first place, so that he would have never walked into the middle of the circle in the first place, so that when he walked in the middle of the circle, he wouldn't have said something like this.
You want to come up behind me and kick me in the back?
You want to come up behind me and kick me in the back? So he wouldn't have said something like that, which just made everybody around him laugh. And then he would have never turned his back towards these fucking inhumane pieces of shit. Fucking, it would have, none of that would have happened, and jiu-jitsu would not have taught him that. The only person who would have been able to teach him that would have been either A, himself, because he would have had the IQ to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go in the middle. Maybe I shouldn't allow myself to be surrounded by people who want to hurt me. This kid never stood a chance, and he doesn't stand a chance. And Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, as much of a kind gesture as that is from Dillon Danis, it's not gonna help. What he actually, truthfully, what his mom did, right? What his mom is trying to do, saving up to move, that is actually the proper thing to do. Get away from the threat in the first place. Now, a stopped clock is right twice a day. I guarantee you this fucking idiot over here, is probably telling your son, no, don't ever fight, don't fight, no, don't fight. Here, have some more chicken nuggets. have some more soda. Don't ever fight anybody. Here. Mommy's gonna give you some more chocolate. Don't ever fight anybody. But like, at the very least, she's correct about the understanding of, okay, this threat is gonna be ever present. So because of that, we should probably just get out of here, right? But what this kid really needs, more than a martial art that would not have actually benefited him in that situation, is to understand how this kind of situation works. And unfortunately, we don't teach people that anymore. Dads used to teach their sons that in one form or another. You know, I remember coming home when I was younger, and I would tell my dad, like, oh, this person's messing with me. And he's like, my dad would literally be like, you know, if I ever went home telling my dad, oh, this guy's messing with me, he would have screamed at me and said, well, go kick his ass. That's what we used to tell children, but now we don't do that. We don't do that kind of thing anymore. And now, because of that, we have these poor kids who, through no fault of their own, they don't fucking stand a chance. The only solution people can think of is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Newsflash, as a guy who's been coaching Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for a long ass time, there's plenty of people in my class who I see them and I'm just like, this kid is not going to make it. If I'm just being 100% honest with you. And it's not because the kid is bad. It's because outside forces have taught this kid that aggression, that going for the gusto, that All of this other stuff is not actually a good thing. And because of that, even though they've been doing jujitsu longer than certain other kids in the class, they get beat up by those kids who haven't been doing it as long as them. Because those kids, whether their parents are cool with it or not, they understood that aggression, that going for the gusto, that actually trying to win, that trying to come out on top in certain situations is actually a good thing. And it's not just a good thing, it's what you should be trying to do, you know? And it's not that I don't like put effort into those kids or anything like that. I put more effort into the kids that I know are having a harder time because of that kind of. This is a kid who like he's gonna do jujitsu and he'll be doing it for like a year or two, and there's gonna be that one kid who comes in and like 4 months in, he's beating the hell out of this kid. It's an unfortunate reality, but like it's a reality born from mommy over here, who she's just not comfortable with her son being anything other than her son. You know, it's not that he's a young boy who's going to grow up to be a man someday who has to live his own life and do his own thing. No, 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 no. It's not that. It's not that. It's that he is always going to be her little boy, her little. Oh, you're always going to be mommy's little boy. You're always going to be mommy's little boy. You know.